love and deep space, and escape from the stresses of reality. What could be
more pleasurable for men-likers everywhere to spend one's downtime with a cast of desirable men, all of which are shrouded in mystery. Through the past year that Love in Deepspace, which we will refer to as Lads, has been out, we've been fortunate enough to encounter 4 different love interests with a variety of backgrounds and only one thing that seemingly binds them together. They're pulled towards us, the main character, a feisty hunter. Throughout different gameplay elements like playtime and deep space trials, players are teased with the incessant coming soon beside the latest love interest. After much speculation on who it would be, we got our answer. On December 21st, 2024, the official Love in Deepspace Twitter page posted a teaser for their 3.0 update. These announcements were planned to be in 2 parts. Part 1 on the 27th of December, and Part 2 on the 10th of January 2025. The teaser image for Part 2 confirmed our speculations that our childhood friend Caleb would be the next love interest. What remains a mystery is what our dynamic with Caleb will look like and what exactly he will be doing. You're probably wondering, wait, isn't this Meowlian's channel? Where is he? Allow me to introduce myself. I am Skyla. You may have seen me scattered across the credits of a few videos on Meowlian's channel already. I have to say, he inspired me and encouraged me to share this speculative theory. Fellow Lads players are probably yelling and screaming at me, how do you know for sure it's Caleb? Well, in the simplest terms, I can say for sure that the next love interest will be the person who MC knows as Caleb, if that's even his real name. And here is the evidence. There's several important visuals that lead myself and many other Lads players to believe it is Caleb, starting with the obvious, the apple. The first hint is Caleb's profile image on our text messaging screen. Caleb's profile image is an apple sitting on a table with a face drawn on it. Surrounding the apple is a necklace, the very necklace we gifted to him before he left for the Deep Space Aviation Academy in a flashback during Under Twilight Episode 6. In that same image, the box we gifted the necklace with sits in the far right.
The smoking gun for this whole thing for the two of us, and something that isn't entirely obvious until you get through a large chunk of the main story, is that Caleb is the only other character in the entire game to not just have features like a character model and moment post replies who isn't a love interest, but also a phone call and text messaging features. Something that is reserved exclusively for them. Characters that have lore importance or are just very connected to the MC's life, like Raphael's manager or our boss, don't even have that right. There is a small list of characters who have anything even close to this level of overlap, like Luke and Kieran, and we're extremely unlikely to ever have them as love interests. Not even the MC's best friend, Tara, has a text message section. Why go through the trouble of programming that in the game if the character isn't going to have some sort of significance later on? It's a lot of small coincidences, sure, and in any other game, I wouldn't be batting an eyelash at it. But Lads' entire gimmick is that it trades character quantity for quality. Quality models, quality writing, quality messages, and quality time. I really doubt that they would have spent so much time and resources on a character that they were only going to use for such a short amount of time, especially right at launch. And before you try to use Josephine as a counterpoint, her model has been used already in the story multiple times now, notably interacting with Zane.
With that out of the way, let me give a little background about Caleb and the MC's interactions with him so far in the game. We speak with Caleb briefly early on in the story through a phone call, but don't get many details about him until about Chapter 4, titled Under Twilight, of the Under Deepspace category. We learn he's going to an aviation academy, very clearly emphasized by his emblemed attire, and that he's around our age and was raised with us by Grandma Josephine. We're told very quickly we are not related to him by blood, nor are we related to Josephine by blood either. According to the game, we were orphaned about 14 years ago during a catastrophe. When we were about, I believe, 7 to 9-ish years old, Caleb was also likely orphaned during that very catastrophe. We spend very, very little time with Caleb during at least the current main story of the game, but through the phone call that we have with him, and during a reunion with him later visiting Josephine, we learn that Caleb loves to cook. I spent a lot of time rewatching these moments to really understand Caleb more as a character. The few things I did pick up is that our nickname from him is Pipsqueak, and there are often times he's seen patting our head. What is a little harder to see, unless you've constantly watched a lot of these scenes, is he constantly mentions us being protected. He doesn't undermine our capabilities nor our strength, yet it doesn't feel like he believes that that's enough to keep us safe. Often, he emphasizes that we need to protect ourselves first, but the MC's entire job is risking themselves to protect the people in the city that they live in. Each love interest in Lads has a unique dynamic that they share with the MC. Regardless of how reckless the MC gets, each of them seems to respect our choices. Sure, they get a little upset when we get hurt, and they wish that they were there to protect us, but they wouldn't make us forsake our independence to do so. I believe that Caleb might be the first love interest to ignore our independence. And here is why. Several times throughout the many different scenes that we spend with Caleb, he constantly talks about our safety and protecting us. He doesn't undermine our capabilities because we are far from being weak, and he knows that. Instead, phrasing it in a what-if sort of scenario. What if X happened? Who could you turn to? It feels as though he's silently trying to convince us to depend on him. He asks us to rely on others, and in this case, he's wanting us to rely on him. He constantly pushes us to share things with him while he, hypocritically, hides things from us. We know for sure that the next love interest is who the MC knows as Caleb. Whether that ends up really being his name is left to be seen. At the end of the day, we haven't had a love interest in Lads that is particularly obsessed with the MC to some degree. At least not one who acts primarily upon that obsession. He even seems to get a little jealous of Zane, the MC's other childhood friend. The broader speculations include Caleb possibly being connected to the research group named Ever, him being the only love interest to know of all of the other love interests.
This claim is thanks to the mysterious gentleman that Raphael meets up with in the main story, who conveniently has his entire face covered and speaks in a very similar voice to Caleb's.
You're fine with handing over a fresh catch just like that?
I knew you'd still be awake. What are you up to?
The more enticing the bait, the more dangerous things can get. Most are clueless to it.
What happened to the pipsqueak who wouldn't even pour me a glass of water?
If these two characters are one and the same, then not only would that make Caleb the first love interest to meet and speak with another one on screen, if you're not counting the interactions between Zane and Dawnbreaker, but would indeed be the only love interest confirmed to know about the existence of all the others. His connections are obvious between Raphael and Zane, but he would also have a bounty out on Xavier through Xavier's alter ego, Lumiere. And, if he works forever in some capacity, then there is a non-zero chance that he has at least heard of Silas. Depending on his position in Ever, he might even know what Silas looks like.
Whether that is completely true or not remains a mystery until the 10th of January. And for sure, I will be there for that stream to see it live. The longer I have played this game, the more entranced I've become with its world, and the way it seems to captivate myself and others. Not just because of the handsome bachelors. Did I theorize too hard? I think I made myself fall for Caleb. You can expect sometime in the future a longer, more in-depth look at lads as a whole in a later video. There was a little bit of a time crunch with the announcement being so close. I now turn things back to Meallion. Bye bye!